Hi, welcome to the Bangya Experience, a podcast where three visual kei fans of color discuss their experience actively partaking in the subculture while living in Japan. Anecdotes, advice to their fellow fans, and hot takes every month.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
So first, let's introduce ourselves. Please say your name, your preferred pronouns, and where you come from.
Hi, my name is Haïfa. You can call me I. Haïfa is fine too. My pronouns are she, they, and I am from France, born and raised, but my family is from Morocco and Algeria.
Hi, I'm Persia. You can call me Peru since everyone also calls me Peru. I'm Canadian, but my parents are from Iran and I go by she, her.
And I'm your host for today only, hopefully. My name is Fatima. You can just call me Fatima or Sibyl, depending on what you want. My family is from Morocco, but I was born and raised in French Canada, in Quebec specifically, and my pronouns are she, her. Okay. So today's episode is the first episode, hopefully of a long series. The first episode title is Bangya equals groupie, question mark, question mark. So it's a question, of course, that we hope we can answer by the end of today's podcast. First, let me ask you a very important question for this podcast. Are you or would you consider yourself a Bangya?
For me, I would consider myself an ex-Bangya because I was going to shows actively before, but now I barely go to shows, so ex-Bangya over here.
That's interesting. I would say I still consider myself a Bangya. I'm not sure when I started to call myself one, but I think I partake in the um, lifestyle and culture enough to still be called a Bangya. What about you?
Um, I'm not sure if I would call myself a Bangya. Definitely feel like people look at me and think I'm a Bangya, which I'm completely fine with because I love the scene and I love whatever we consider part of the Bangya culture, which we'll talk about later. As for myself, Bangya or not, I'm just happy to be part of the scene. So yeah. For our listeners who might be confused about what a Bangya is, could you explain briefly what Bangya is?
So a Bangya means, in simple terms, band girl. So you follow a band if you're a Bangya, and it's usually only one. Like you have your priority, one priority, and you commit your finances, your emotions, and your time to this band by going to these shows. So that's what makes you a Bangya. Okay, how about you?
Same, I think pretty much um you pretty much summed up everything. Yes, the dedication financially, physically, emotionally to a band. Some It doesn't have to be one band, but if you're like I would not to say if you're a real Bangya, but if you're as invested as you should be, it's very hard to follow multiple bands. So yes, I would say only on one band most of the time.
Yeah, unless you're like super rich and don't have a job, yeah, you can
Yes.
follow many bands. But usually people have a job and have, you know, other priorities in life. So, right?
Yes.
That's so true. Actually, like when you think about what a banya has to do, it's almost impossible to do it for more than one or at least or maybe two bands. So yeah, a banya is just very very dedicated fan who wants to support their favorite band as much as they can and contribute to their success, especially in a scene where like everything starts and dies so quick, right? So okay, great. So you already mentioned a couple of things of what you consider as a banya. So as part as like what we call the banya culture, what are these things that the fans do for their favorite band? What are the things that you think of when you think of this is banya behavior, this is banya culture?
So following and supporting your favorite band and also your favorite member. I think specifically your favorite member for some Bangya. That's going along with Bangya culture. And doing mannerisms, I guess. Like we have during lives where you like there's things you can do and things you can't do. So I think such as furitsuke and visual kei life etiquette is one of the main things in Bangya culture, I would say.
I agree. Definitely the mannerism during the lives, and it goes further than just the furitsuke. So the furitsuke, by the way, is the Japanese word to say choreography. So like it's just dances pretty much. And it goes with the songs. There's specific furitsuke to do at certain times during the songs. I feel like when you go to enough lives and listen to enough visual kei, you start to hear how a song is made and what furitsuke could work where. But more than that, as you said, the Bangya etiquette also, like for example, during certain events with multiple bands, it means like you're not gonna stand in the front if you're not here for the band and just stay with your crossed arms. No, you would be further in the back. So like it's a lot of like untold rules, unspoken rules. So definitely taking part in this and financially supporting the band, as like buying releases, goodies, because that's what makes the band live and continue, because it's a really small scene, and they really need their fans to continue, I guess. What else do we have?
I could also think of furitsuke. I was thinking also of like the chiki culture, and like stuff like satsuekai, or like taking pictures with your favorite band. But I'm also thinking like I'm not sure how much that's only if a visual kei thing. I have a friend who's into underground idols, and they have pretty much the same things that I've just mentioned. So I'm not sure what about this is only visual kei, but for me, visual kei is, or Bangya culture is mostly about like, as we said before, like the support that you want to show a band, especially because the music has all these like, I want to say controversial or touchy themes, and like Bangya find refuge in the scene. They feel understood, and that's why they give back. So as you said, like this relationship between the band and the fans is for me like the most important part of Bangya culture, and influences the etiquette
Yes.
a lot.
Yes.
As you said, like underground idols culture, I think is very similar to visual kei scene. It works pretty much the same way, and they rely on fans. It's just, I guess, the themes are different. So idols maybe are carrying a more positive and uplifting image, and they bring I mean, not to say just happiness, but they really spread out like positivity, and the fans give back. And in visual kei, I feel like it's just a safe space for a lot of people who may be feeling misunderstood, or not to all the way go down to the triggers, but a lot of people may be suffering with mental illnesses or mental struggles or social struggles. It's pretty common in the scene, and everyone finds peace and safety in the scene.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the demographic for visual kei fans like Bangya are usually people that have some sort of struggle, and they find peace with visual kei. They find like other people that understand their struggle. So yeah, it's a safe space for everyone. Yeah.
And it's also a coping mechanism, I think, for bandmen who are creating the music. It's also a way to express themselves on stage, to express emotions that are not much expressed I feel, in Japanese society. It's a bit harder to, those topics are a bit more taboos and touchy, so it's a safe space for them too.
Very good. So I agree with all of you. So we could say in other terms, a banya isn't any different from a fan. It's just a fan, but a fan that's very involved. And it's a word that we mostly only use in visual kei. Have you ever heard of other instances where people call themselves Bangya without being fans of visual kei bands specifically?
No, it's a visual kei term because I guess most of the bands are visual kei that use Bangya. I mean, like again, the demographic is mostly women, female identifying people. Whereas for other rock bands, there's a mixed demographic. So Bangya culture is mostly how should I say it? For the fan, which is usually a woman or female identifying person, to the band man. And it's that sort of relationship. It's quite different from regular bands. Yeah.
So Persia mentioned how the targeted audience is mostly women or assigned female at birth. Haïfa, could you tell us if there's any other word for men who are part of the scene? Like, how do we refer to them?
Oh, yes. The term usually used is, I've never heard anyone say bangyao, they just say gyao. So it's the same as the gya from Bangya, which meant bando gyaru, but that would be gya with the o of the kanji of otoko, man. So gyao is the way to refer to men who are, or male identifying people in the scene who are fans. There's definitely, depending on the bands, there's definitely a demographic. It's not the majority for sure, but depending of the bands, you might see a lot more of male or male identifying audience.
Yeah, I think a lot of like male fans just identify as fans, not as gyao. Gyao, yeah, there's something different about them. Like it's similar, like their investment, their emotions are similar, but not exactly the same. It's like a lot of bangyas like are in love with their favorite bandman, but like usually gyao, the ones I've seen, they just look up and want to be like those guys. It's a bit different, but similar. Like I feel like their emotions are quite similar. Yeah.
They are as invested in a different way.
Yes.
That's true. For me, like, for as far as my favorite band goes, like I have a couple of friends, Japanese friends who also like them, and the men who would call themselves gyao on their Twitter profile, for example, were the ones who I would see whenever I did ense or like when I followed my favorite band around. So even like in the like most random Inaka part of like Nara Prefecture, those, if I saw that fan, I would think that's a gyao because they would really like go like really far to see the band. So I guess like really like that's the difference between the word fan and bangya or fan and gyao. It's really what we consider like the involvement or the effort that you make to support your favorite band.
Yeah, it's like they like Bangya and Gyao, they go the extra mile. Like if your band is touring all over Japan, Bangya and fans will go to the show that, oh, this is closest to my house, so I'm gonna go to this one show. Bangya will go to every show in the whole country. Usually. That's the difference. It's like a fan is 10% and a Bangya is 100% or more, depending.
True. Here's a note for our listeners. So if you're a person who is gender non-conforming or trans and you don't feel comfortable using the word bangya or gyao, there's no problem with that. As far as we know, there isn't any other word that you can use to refer to yourself as a bangya or gyao. If there's a Japanese person listening who knows about another word, we'd love to hear about that, so let us know. But as far as we know, there isn't any other word. So it's not that they're trying to keep you out of the scene, it's just that there's no word. So you can still live your best bangya, gyao experience as you want, but don't think like this is something to keep you out. Definitely not. So next we want to cover the second part of the title. So we talked about what a bangya is. Let's tackle the problem here, the misconception about bangya that we often see within the foreign visual kei scene. Is a bangya a groupie? Let's look at the definition of what a groupie is. So according to Google, if you type groupie, The first result comes up as a young woman who regularly follows a pop group or other celebrity, especially in the hope of having a sexual relationship with them. So this is something that I feel like most of us have seen before, like, oh, seeing people saying like, oh, I'm not like those Bangya, or I'm not a Bangya because I'm not trying to sleep with Ben men. Is a Bangya a groupie?
Simplest way to think of it is not all Bangya are groupies, but all groupies are Bangya. That's the most simplest way I can put it. Like, the term groupie is more of a Western type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with Visual K, especially because there's dome minor bands, it's super easy to make a personal connection with your band or bandman that you like. Because, like, for example, if you go to a very do minor show, which do minor means, like, super minor, no one knows them, you're, like, 1 in 5 people that went, of course they're gonna notice you. There's only 5 people there for that band, and they know all the people that are there moving to the songs. They know everyone. So if they say you, especially if you're a foreigner too, they're gonna notice you. And hey, you might be like, I'm gonna send him a DM saying, hey, great job today, and then they'll reply to you. So that there's already an established connection that you already have just by being there. That's what the difference is between Bangya and groupies. Like, groupies is like, if you have like the Western perspective, it's like a girl who wants to follow like a big rock band, and it's like 1 in how many million girls get noticed. It's kind of like that. Like in Visual K, it's super easy to have a relationship, whether it is physical or just friendship or whatever. It's easy. So not all Bangya are groupies, of course, because some people don't even want to have that relationship. Some people just want to be friends. Some people just don't even want to get involved in that way. So it's very easy to become, how can I say, like a part of their life, especially if you're going to all their shows. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you want to, sleep with them or anything. So I think a lot of foreign people, they have that Western perspective, so they put it onto Visual K. So it's not exactly a groupie, I would say. Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. I also want to add that I think that groupie, Fatima told me in the past, was also referring to the girls who would follow the band on tours sometimes, but not in a like a Bangya would do, which mean like doing an essay and just like taking her ticket train or a bus ticket and then just going by herself and staying at her hotel. No, like the groupie sense would be much more like the girl is in the tour bus.
Yeah, like she's with the band.
Like she's like
that's
there.
Crazy.
Which is like, that's completely, that's I don't think I've ever seen or heard.
It's impossible.
Not in Visual K.
Not in Visual K.
Because Visual K is, Persia, as you said, like it's very easy to make connections. So sometimes fans like get like, which is like, I think is not a bad thing. They have their fantasies and they want to get closer and they feel that they're their favorite fans or something. They feel that they're different and they need to keep that connection, and the bandmen have to, not to make them believe, but also it's part of their job, they have to make them believe that they're unique and special. So it kind of follows the idol thing, like there's no like public dating or definitely not, like those are not prohibited, but that's like
frowned upon.
Yes, that's extremely frowned upon, and like there's only few minor bandmen who are publicly married. It's pretty
I mean, it's like a marketing thing. It's a lot of Bangya, they want that fantasy. They want a band with a bandman that can provide that fantasy for them. And if they can't have that fantasy, I think for a lot of like do minor bands that may not have the resources to make really, really good music, like quality, they need to survive on these types of fantasies, I guess. So if they are open with their relationships like that, a lot of girls will not want to, follow that band because, oh, this guy's such a player. Oh, he's like open about his personal life. So it's really not a good idea for them to do that. So a lot of them do not do that, like no matter what.
I've seen that happen actually for like I'm not going to mention who that is, but there's a bandman who's fairly well known for being married, and I just feel like after that news came out, like I just feel like his audience isn't as big as it used to be. Like there aren't as many fans. It's like it's almost like they have nothing to fantasize about because they know that when he goes home he has someone waiting for him. So
yeah, it's similar to hosts, like Japanese hosts. They have the similar like marketing tactic, similar demographic. Yeah.
They have to do, it's part of like the ego, it's part of the marketing.
Yeah. The business. Yeah.
They have to be nice to their fans. They have to show that they remember you, that they remember your name, that they remember what you like or what you said in a fan letter, for example, or everything counts, and they have to remember all of that too. And when we say fantasy, I think it's important to say that it's not a negative thing. People can have their fantasy. Doesn't mean that they're crazy or going too far. That there are some people who do go too far. There are some stalkers and stuff, but it's pretty rare. Everyone pretty much knows the limits, and they can just have their fun.
Yeah, and also it's not always like a sexual fantasy. It's like just that someone, like, acknowledges you as a person, like what you like, what you don't like. It's just like a human relationship, like a human connection. It's not always sexual. Like, I think foreigners have foreign people that don't live in Japan that like visual kei, they have this idea, but it's not like that. Some Bangya are like 40-year-old women with families and stuff. It's not always about just sleeping with a guy in a band,
There are, of course, there are a lot of bandmen who want that, like the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle. They want to feel like they're like some kind of celebrity and want to sleep with many people and all that. Of course, there are those men, and for those men, they are similar women who want to be part of their fantasy, But as you said, like an added layer to what hosts represent is the fact that these bandmen perform music about certain themes that really like connect, like that the fans connect to. So you have this bandman who's writing about his, or perhaps like allegedly like a personal experience where they struggle with mental illness, and you listen to this song and feel absolutely connected to this experience, feel like you've lived something similar, and then you see this bandman and they acknowledge you. It's like there's a lot of things happening there. You feel seen, you feel heard.
Yes.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
And even let's go back to like more of like the sexual fantasies and all that. I don't see again where that's wrong, as long as like both parties like consent. It's almost like it seems like there's always people complaining about a scene where women do what they want. So if a woman wants to sleep with a bandman, then she's a fake fan. She's only there for the looks and all that. But if it's a gyao, nobody questions them about why they're there.
Yeah.
That's a bigger problem already.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of judgment from sometimes even both sides. Like even in Japan, you feel that judgment from Japanese fans too. With like Japanese fans to other Japanese fans, sometimes they have that sort of judgment. But yeah, it's not always a bad thing, to be honest. A lot of these guys have their own free will. Like people really, especially foreign people on foreign visual kei Twitter and stuff, they really think these guys don't have their own free will or decision making, decisions. But really, like if a guy in a band wants to do something, he'll do it. It's not like for example, like idols where they are in a company where they're like, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, if you do this you're gonna get fined this much amount. No, usually they don't have that in visual kei. Not so much, I believe, because most visual kei bands are not super famous. So there's more freedom in that aspect.
Okay, so to sum up this part, I guess we could say it's like a Venn diagram between groupie and bangya. Basically, some bangya are groupies. Most groupies are bangya, but not all bangyas are groupies.
Yes, exactly. Don't get it twisted.
And even if you're someone who wants to be a groupie,
you do
Good
you.
luck. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, like I mean, you do
be
you.
safe. Don't lie about your age.
Oh,
Please.
yes.
Yes. Don't lie about anything.
And be safe. Honestly, just be safe. But you don't have to want to. You don't have to want to be a groupie to be a bangya. Simply, like there are plenty of people who just want to see the band on the stage and be just one fan in a million and enjoy the music and then go home. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not inadequate if you think even your favorite band doesn't look good, or I mean, you probably think they look good if that's your favorite band, but you're not inadequate for not wanting to have like any type of relationship to get closer. If you don't want that, it's fine.
And yeah, and if you do want that, then go ahead. Like,
try your best and don't be stalkerish.
just treat him like a normal person. Like, just a normal guy. Like, oh, I like this guy. I want to date him. Like, just do that, please.
Yeah, don't accept things from bandmen that you wouldn't accept from any other person.
Exactly.
But yeah, like any way of loving a band is correct, is good, is encouraged, as long as you don't hurt yourself or hurt others in the way. Yeah. So that's what we have to say about this question.
Exactly.
Okay, next, let's talk about the things that we love about visual care, that we love about being Bangya. So what are things that you associate with visual K culture, Bangya culture, like aesthetic or sounds or these kind of things?
Oh God, there's so many. First of all, blood, bandages, piercing, silver, Justin Davis, chrome hearts, that kind of stuff. Vivienne Westwood, long hair, colored hair. Those pointy shoes that they used to wear 15 years ago.
So true.
The pointy shoes.
Yeah, like music-wise, yeah, like there's so many different genres, so anything really could be visual K, to be honest. Like, I know people say, like, visual K is not a music genre, blah, blah, blah. No, there is a visual K sound. Like, don't get it. Like, unless you haven't listened to many visual K bands, there is a visual K sound.
There is.
Yeah.
There is. Our opening sounds visual K, does it not? There you go.
Period.
There
If you can guess the influences, please let us know. That would be really fun.
There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Even just like Takada no Baba. That's
true.
visual K.
Takada no Baba is just
Ikebukuro, like
Shinjuku is like Shinjuku has a lot more. Shinjuku is too much. But Takada no Baba has something very visual K somehow.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the struggle life and the visual K life. What else?
There is yeah, as you said, there's so many, like, there's a lot of sub-styles too, depending of what you like, what type of, what sub-styles, like, is more fitting to yours, but, like, flowers, like roses specifically, are very, very visual K, I think.
Yeah, especially Tambike.
And Tambike.
Yeah.
When you mentioned bandages and stuff,
like,
it's kind of giving
Idioke, yeah.
Idioke and like those
yes.
Exactly, and like even those last 10 years, like that I would call it menherake, even if that's not really.
Yeah.
There's no real label for now, but like the arushite, shirumi, the raid type of.
Yes.
So there's like few things that you start seeing, and that you will probably notice when you go to venues and stuff, the way Bangya dresses, and there's few recurring aesthetics.
Yeah. I mean, there's trends. I mean, visual K has been around for 40 years. There's trends. It's a like subculture, so there's going to be things that are like popular in like this decade, whereas last decade it wasn't popular, and then next, like, we just started a new decade, right? So we don't know what's going to be popular in the next 5 years. So yeah, there's a lot of things.
I think that we can agree that one of our favorite thing, at least the three of us, would be Furitsuke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
yes, definitely.
Furitsuke is a great... Furitsuke is what I call with the Ensei, with traveling to see your bands, on tour, is the physical way to show your support to the band during the shows. So if that's a one-man show and it's just your band for 1 hour more, hopefully, it's pretty cool to be there and also just have your fun by dancing and doing those moves. If that's during the Taiban event, so kind of like small events with different bands that play a lot of sets, it's a good way to know who you're supporting. Like, we will know, oh, this person came for this band because when the band was coming on, they were like much more in the front of the venue, and they were doing the furitsuke. So it's a great way to show support to your band in front of others and everything. So furitsuke is pretty important, and it's just super fun.
It is. I think it's one of the best things about Visual K other than the music, honestly.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like there's a lot of discourse about not Visual K, about furitsuke on foreign Visual K Twitter. All we want to say is there isn't just one type of furitsuke, and some bands have like very, very low key like furitsuke. Furitsuke isn't just like all those like throwing hearts and like doing two-step and all that. Like, there's so much variety, and if you experience going to different bands, you'll find some kind of furitsuke that you find like you might enjoy, and you should definitely try it first. Like, if you try it and you really, really don't like it, I will say something. At first, it is distracting. It's true, you're trying to learn the furitsuke, but if you go to see the bands a lot and you get a gist of like what type of music goes with what kind of furitsuke, then it will come to you naturally. At some point, you'll be at a point where you listen to a new release and be like, oh, I can already picture the furitsuke. Okay. So, like, don't give up on it unless you've tried it, and also don't be forced to do it, but don't just stand there in the first row not doing it, because you know the closer you are to the stage, the more people want to show out the furitsuke and give back to the band. So, you know, give some thought to that. Like, try to consider how to do it.
Also, it's also like they want you to do furitsuke. The guys on stage want you to do it, you know? Like, if you don't do it, they're going to be like, oh, they're not having fun. So it's going to put pressure on them. So I think if you're going to go to a live and you care about what the people on stage, how they feel, especially if it's the band that you like, you should, like, try to do it, you know? Like, I know some people, they are like, oh, I would never do that. It looks stupid, blah, blah, blah. But you haven't even done it. I used to not do it, to be honest. When I came to Japan on vacation, I wouldn't do it. But when I moved here and I started doing it, I was like, yo, this is the best thing ever. Why didn't I do this before? And you feel like, oh, I'm in a group. Like, we all belong, you know? It's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's so fun. And then they actually tell you a lot of the times, for especially domainer bands, they tell you to do the furi. They teach you how to do the furi before you come to the live. Like, they have videos, they post it. They're like, this is how you do it, so when you come to the show, please do it with us. So it depends on the band, really, but don't knock it until you try it. Because sometimes it's one of the best things about the live.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And also, it reminded me the Nameless, the domainer band, their first one-man was just dedicated, was a furi koza, so like a course pretty much to learn all of their furi. Like, they made it before, and that was it. So it's how important it is. So if your favorite band sees you and they see that you're not, as you said, that you're not moving and such, they will just assume that you're not enjoying it. So give it a try, as you said.
Yeah, they don't even know that you are their fan, to be honest. If you're not going to move, they're going to be like, oh, it's just this foreign person. Maybe they're for another band. But they don't even know that you like them if you do that. So if you do it, they'll know, oh, this person came for us, you know?
And furitsuke has evolved so much, like, across, like, the years. So if you're a fan of like undercoat production bands, like, they used to film their own videos. Like, the bandmen would film themselves doing the furitsuke and would put it like on DVDs or on YouTube and all that stuff. So you can find that stuff. It's been around for so long. It isn't a new thing. Of course, I feel these days that there's like definitely like something about like filming fans doing furitsuke or like headbanging and all that. It looks really cool from behind. So I think a lot of bands do that, but it's been around for a long time.
I think since the 90s.
Yeah, definitely since the 90s.
Yeah, so when those really old Visual K bands, the ones that had a lot of like bandages and stuff. Yeah, like yeah, obviously like there are some bands where there weren't foodie at that time, but like a lot of like do minor bands at that time, they started foodie, and the foodie has evolved, and sometimes even between like subgenres of Visual K, and even some bands do foodie differently. Yeah, so it's actually really interesting and really fun to see the differences between the years and the bands and the subgenres. So definitely one of the best things about Visual K.
Yep.
Strong agree.
So let's end on a positive note. So as part of your experience as a Bangya, living in Japan, going to lives, and even before coming here, what would you say is your favorite part about having been a Bangya or being a Bangya right now? What do you feel Visual K has brought to your life? That's a big question.
Oh my god, that is big.
That is a huge one.
Yeah, especially for me since I'm an ex-Bangya.
I mean, in the next episode, we can talk about how we got into Visual K and like what bands we like and all that. But like, what would you say is the takeout? Like, for people who want to be Bangya in the future, what could you tell them? Like, how can you like hint or like tease them about what they could experience being here in Japan?
I feel like you'll make a lot of good friends, and you might make some enemies. Sorry. Sorry, I mean that's the truth, right? I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you how it is. You're gonna make enemies. You're gonna make best friends, but you're going to enjoy yourself for sure. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I'm gonna be straight up. I'm an ex-Bangya, and I do not enjoy my life as I do, as I did back in the day. Back in the day when I was a Bangya, I was living the life. And actually, to be honest, recently I was thinking, I wish I was still a Bangya and my life was fun. But now it's not like that anymore. So, yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun. And I think if you love Visual K and you want to come here and live the Bangya life, do it.
I definitely agree. I would say that I feel like I became the Bangya. I became like this word that we've been talking about since I live in Japan, so like almost 4 years. Before that, I was just back in France, in my room, enjoying Visual K, going to some Visual K lives in France for the bands who would go abroad. I would try to buy release, I would try to be invested, but it was different. It was very hard. Following everything through social media, it does work out, but it's still not the same as being in the venue. I do think that like social media helped a lot bands to evolve and promote themselves online and to get new fans. But yeah, since I've been here, I would say it has been one of the most important thing in my life. It has brought me friends, a few enemies too, but it has brought me friends. I wouldn't say like a purpose, but it's like a something to look forward to, you know. I always look forward alive. I always look forward my favorite band's releases. I look forward everything that they want to do, and it's just a very fun experience. And yes, as you said, like the Bangya life, I would say, that may include like do minor bands and stuff, getting to talk or exchange with some bandmen, with some other Bangya from like around the world, Japanese Bangya too, of course, but from all around the world. You just learn a lot about the culture, about Japanese culture too, and even about yourself. I think you learn a lot about yourself. So definitely recommendable experience.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I asked the question and I'm like, whoa, I'm just thinking about my whole life right now. To me, the best part of being a Bangya was to find a home. So somewhere where I feel like I belong, somewhere where when things are really hard, I can come back to and feel really good. Of course, it's not like 24/7. It's only when I'm at the live house in front of my favorite band listening to my favorite music, but that's still better than nothing. Or, you know, some people don't even have that. It just feels like a full circle moment because, you know, like as a person of color, like we are not usually seen inside these like alternative circles and like environments. So you know, you grow up and people ask you questions, why do you dress like that? Why do you listen to that? But once you're in the live house in front of your favorite band, it doesn't matter because all these things are the things that brought you there. So it just feels like really comfortable and just feels like sometimes it just feels like I made it. And I often think like I'm so glad I'm still alive right now. Like to experience this.
I definitely agree. Every time I see my favorite band, I'm just very glad I waited enough. Yes. That was beautiful. Thank you.
I love Visual K.
Same. Even though I'm not Bangya anymore, I'm still listening to Visual K 24/7.
So that makes you your own Gengya. But we'll talk about this later on the next episode of our podcast. I mean, that could be an episode if we want to. We'll probably go on more and more about the vocabulary. So
yes, and listeners, if you guys want us to do a certain episode, let us know, please.
Yes, that would be definitely interesting. If you have any questions to any subjects that you would want to know more about, we will try our best to cover up the subject.
Yeah, and we'll tell you more about ourselves as we go. But if you have any specific questions to any of us, like, please don't be shy and just ask away, because we are really doing this because we didn't have this when we were younger. We didn't know how to access the Bangya lifestyle because they weren't, at least as far as I know, there weren't any other people who looked like us. So even, I'm going to add as in Bangya, like, I met these two people and they were the first representation I've ever had of, like, non-white, non-Japanese Bangya. And so, you live your best life. You're like, no, I'm going to be me. But when you meet other people who look like you, it just feels very validating. So we hope that this podcast can be that for you.
Yes.
Okay. So let's end it on this wonderful note. Where can people reach you?
We're going to link our Twitters or Instagrams or whatever in the description box.
That's it.
There you go.
That was it.
Yeah, if I don't post on either one, I'm still on it. I just don't post. Just send me a message if you want to send me a message. It's okay. I'll reply.
Great. So that concludes the first episode of the Bangya experience. Episode 1, Bangya equals groupie, ? The answer has been...
No. Sometimes.
Hell no.
Sometimes only. Only sometimes.
But you don't have to be. So.
You don't have to. Yeah.
Yes. So the next episode is going to be covering a little bit more about what is Visual K, what isn't, how do you decide what is Visual K and what isn't, and just a little bit more like vocabulary. We know that it gets confusing if you don't speak Japanese, even if you speak Japanese actually. So we want to help you navigate all of that. That's about it, I think, for the first episode. Anything else?
No, we good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Listen to Visual K.
Yes, listen to your favorite band and my favorite band and their favorite bands. Yeah, bye.